and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping and wholesaling houses, or if you're already doing it, a great business. I don't know why that drawer is open. Okay, so got a question. Let me read it. Can I sell my home by myself without a real estate agent? Can buyer and seller, owner of a real estate do this transaction without any intermediary person for both sides? It is possible. I think, how about selling in New York? Of course, in any place. A realtor is not. Why am I getting in the middle? A realtor is not required. In any given market, about 10% of the properties are going to get sold without even being listed. Very often, when I am selling a property, and I'm hoping that I have a property right now in Babylon, and the buyer came to me and is not being represented by an agent. The truth is, I listed that one. In general, if you have a property for sale, you do not need it to be listed with an agent. Absolutely not, 100% not required. And that is, we are now 1 minute into a 10-minute video, so now I have to figure out what to talk about for another 10 minutes. So it's absolutely not required in any way. I would highly recommend against going FSBO, for sale by owner. People are sort of attracted to that because they want to save the realty commission. I can tell you that it almost always results in you getting less money. Now, you say, why? If I'm selling a house for $500,000 and I don't want to pay 5% real estate commission, all I have to do is sell it for $20,000 less than that, and I'm making more. True. But I really only recommend two ways of selling properties. The first is to list with an agent, right? And 90%, as we said, of all properties are going to be listed with an agent. The other is if you don't want to list for an agent for a specific reason, then you want to go directly to an investor who is going to pay you less than you could make if you listed with an agent most of the time. Sometimes you can't list with an agent for whatever reason. But to go FSBO, I think, is the absolute worst situation for anyone. Now, I have been told by people, I can just put out a sign, I'll sell it in 5 minutes. So here are the issues with selling by yourself, FSBO, for sale by owner. The main problem is that, well, there's two big problems. The first problem is your property is not being seen by the most amount of people, right? If you go FSBO and you listed FSBO on Zillow, let's say, you've got to understand a very small percentage of the people go on Zillow. You may go on Zillow all the time, but a lot of people don't go on Zillow or look on Zillow at all. So you're taking the market from here to there. The other big problem, and this is a bigger problem than you realize, is about 50 to 60% of all buyers in our area and in a lot of areas go to a buyer's agent. And they say, hey, Mr. Agent, represent me. I'm looking for a property, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms in this area. I want a backyard. And those agents, so most, I would say more than half, are never, ever going to show their client your property, even if it's the greatest, most perfect property that their client could ever see. Because the way that buyer's agents get clients is they tell them, listen, Mr. Buyer, you don't have to pay me anything. The seller pays me, right? Because what happens in a standard listing agreement is that there's, let's say, 4% commission, and half of that is going to go to a buyer's agent. So the buyer is going to collect his half. And the buyer agent does not want to go to Mr. Buyer and say, hey, I have this great property, I think it's perfect for you, but you're going to need to pay my fee. Because he's already told that buyer that he will never have to pay a fee. So I'll give you a great example. So I had a property where I wanted to buy the property. Seller wanted to sell, just didn't have a place to go. He was ready to go. So I was making my money on the purchase of the property. I then said, listen, I'll help you. Make me your agent. I'll go find you a property. I found the property for him. Perfect property. Almost bizarre. The price was lower than it should have been. House was in great condition. Perfect area. I didn't understand why it was sitting on the market for, 2 months. Guy loved it, put an offer, we got it. Then I look, something I wasn't looking closely at, the seller was offering 0% commission for the buyer's agent. So I said, fine, I'm making my money on the other side of this. I don't need money on this. The guy actually was a really nice guy, a real mensch, and he actually gave me some commission, which is nice. So buyer's agents will not bring their prospective buyers to a property where they're not going to get paid. And FSBO properties, they're not going to get paid. And even if you say, well, I'm going to put in the listing that I'll pay a buyer's agent 1%, I promise you 99 out of 100 buyer's agents aren't going to read that, or aren't going to send them to, or are still not going to send the buyer to you anyway. So what have you done by going FSBO? First of all, you're showing your property to a fraction of the potential buyers. Second of all, you shut yourself off to 50 to 60% of any potential buyers anyway, because the buyer's agents are never going to bring them to you. Now, what else have you done that's bad? There's another thing that's bad. Let's say you have a number in mind at $600,000 you want for your house, and somebody comes and he says, "I'll pay you $600,000," and you're the happiest guy in the world. I don't have to pay a commission. This is great. A couple of things are going to happen. Number one is you will never ever know if 600 was the top price. You might have sold it $100,000 cheap. You won't know it. Now, if you put it on the market, you'll know it. You've opened it up to a very efficient marketplace. You'll get offers. If you price something too low, people will pay more. So A, you're limiting the amount of buyers that are going to see a property, which is going to affect the price. B, you've eliminated a majority of the buyers who are represented by agents who are never going to show you property. C, you're never going to know what the real price for your house should have been. So, and D is you're not going to know what the hell is going to go on during the transaction. So let's just say you have a weak attorney, and there are many, many weak real estate attorneys, and let's say the buyer has a very strong real estate attorney. That buyer can turn around, jerk you around for 3 months. You're ready to go. You got your stuff packed. You are all excited. You saved all this commission. And then the buyer goes, "You know what? We want a $50,000 reduction." And you go, "What? We're in contract." And he goes, "Yeah, I think I'm getting denied for my mortgage at this price." You're really not going to know what to do, right? And if you're squeezed in that situation, you'll probably fold like a cheap suit. So you're not being represented by anybody good. You don't know what the hell is happening here. You don't have an intermediary working on your behalf. And you've eliminated a majority of the buyers. So FSBO, for sale by owner, I think is a horrible, horrible, horrible way to sell a house. Horrible. For all the reasons I just listed. I don't need to reiterate them. You are almost certainly going to make less money than listing it. Now you say, I save all this commission. Save the commission, but you don't know. You've shown your property to a quarter of the people that might want to buy it. That's crazy. You've eliminated, you've cut out the efficiency of the MLS, the multiple listing service, which is a very efficient system. Anybody looking in an area will find your deal on MLS. It gets posted to 100 websites automatically, but you've cut that out. And in search of making money, you've probably lost money, right? You have tripped over dollars to pick up nickels. That's what you're doing. And I think it's a terrible idea. I would never recommend it to anyone, right? Anyone, ever. So it can be done, but if you're trying to get the most money, don't do it, right? The only two acceptable options, I think, to sell your property are if you can list it with an agent, and if you have some reason why you can't list it, then sell it directly to an investor, where there'll be no commission, but you're going to give up some of the equity in your house for the certainty, convenience, and control that an investor is going to provide for you. And that is it, right? But it's certainly not required for a real estate agent to be involved in any transaction. Absolutely 1,000% not. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. Oh boy, I really need water, and there's no water here. Let me grab some. What else? If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help the algorithm. A lot more people have been seeing my videos lately. And please keep the questions coming. This came from Allie. I really appreciate the questions. You can ask anything. It does not have to be about the video you're watching. It can be any topic. If it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered recently, I'll send you a link to a video or sometimes multiple videos on it. If it's something new or something I haven't covered in a while, I'll do a brand new video on it. So I really appreciate everybody who's been watching. I appreciate everyone who's been commenting and asking questions. The questions really help me. I post 5 times a week. I very often blank out of what I'm going to say. The questions help me by A, giving me food for thought, things to think about for our future topics, and also let me answer your questions. That's the point of this whole channel, is to help you and answer as many questions as I can. So thank you all for watching. I really, really appreciate it.